Hey everyone, it's Carmel Kemp, and this is the Creating Life Consciously podcast. I am super excited today about our guest. There's just so much that we could cover today. Isabelle Mercier Turcotte. And Isabelle is the co-founder and CEO of Leap Zone Strategies and one of the most inspirational branding, marketing, and customer experience keynote speakers. Isabelle is definitely a no-nonsense dynamo, born to catapult passionate entrepreneurs and thought leaders to build businesses and brands designed to make life better. As one of North America's top business influencers, best-selling author, two-time TEDx speaker with over 3 million views, and a TV show host, Isabelle brings 30 years of branding, marketing, and customer experience expertise. She has helped thousands of business owners, thought leaders, as well as some influential and iconic brands like A&W, Roby's Footwear, Earl's Restaurants, IMAX Corporation, and HSBC Investments, just to name a few. Isabelle teaches how to grow businesses and brands that are designed to make life better and thrive in any economy by becoming and remaining the first, the best, or the only. Well, I just, full transparency to everyone out there. Isabelle and I have known each other for a few years now, and I've also had the great pleasure of working with Isabelle and her partner Margarita and Leap Zone Strategies in retreats, in developing and building my own business, which in some ways I'm still looking for another word for business, but right. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And so, when I was working with you, we would always talk about mindset, which also the sign behind your beautiful head states. And so I find it incredibly intriguing how mindset for me is definitely connected to creating life consciously.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because without that mindset, we're just on autopilot and doing things from past memory habits and patterns, or trying to, what a lot of people would say, copy what other people are doing if they're successful, and thinking that will also result in their own success. And I had my experience with that because I tried it and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's mindset that things that get passed down from parents and other generations, whether they're spoken passed down or not, or energetically passed down. Like, here's a simple example, the saying of, you got to work hard to make money and be successful. You got to work hard. Now, I'm not afraid of working hard. I work smart. I work hard. But the thinking of the mindset of it's got to be hard to be fulfilling, or it's got to be hard to be worthy. That's a mindset that doesn't need to exist. It's something, it's been passed down from my parents' generation, and thank God my mom was my parents were very new age. My mom was always, what is it that you want, Isabelle? Let's first figure out what you want, and then we can figure out who, because as human beings, we get stuck on how. Do you know how many amazing dreams and businesses and ideas and innovations have died for being stuck on the how too early? And my mom was always like, first, you got to be clear on what it is that you want, whether it exists or not, whether you think you can do it or not, what is it that if you had a magic wand within, it's not like, I have a magic wand, I'd like to grow wings and fly, mommy, like that. She'd be like, well, that's a fantasy, but in anything that is remotely attainable in the physical form, she would say, what is it that you want? And then who and how are the same letters. And I would always go to how, and she'd always go, first, Let's figure out who can help you with which next step. Because if you know every bit of the how of doing something, chances are you're not thinking big enough. And, so she would always just really, I mean, she had things like, you got to work hard, Isabelle. Like she had things like that as well, right? Like she wanted to raise me as, authentic, kind, audacious, strong woman. And she wanted me to learn some ethics, work ethics. And of course that gets passed down to the degree, right? But her thinking around anything is possible if you are clear and if you want it bad enough. If you're willing to do what needs to be done in order to get it. Too many people, they want a certain result, they want something, but when it comes time to actually do what needs to happen consistently, like an athlete, you want a gold medal? No problem. You're going to have at least 20,000 hours mastering this craft. And if you can't get up in the morning because you always have another good reason, a gold medal there will not be, right? So anyways.
Absolutely. And I think that's absolutely brilliant. And I think that you're incredibly fortunate to have had that role model or that learning and wisdom passed down, because a lot of us, I know I sure as hell didn't, but being able to just focus on the what.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What is it that we want? Because oftentimes the subconscious will come into play and it'll go about the what, and then it automatically go to why I can't do it. How am I going to possibly do it? And there's a complete lack of trust in the self, and a complete lack in trust in what, in my experience, in what the universe will allow to unfold for you if you just simply focus on the what, trust, and the mindset.
And you know what? When I met Margarita 31 years ago, Margarita is my business partner and my life partner, my wife. When I met Margarita is a logistical person. She's very bright, extremely intelligent, and can piece things together really quickly. She, by nature, looks for holes in ideas and in things. I'm the complete opposite. I like to innovate, think big, find great ideas, get excited enough about it, then look at finding holes. In our relationship at the very beginning, Carmel, Margarita and I mean, it was a shit show. I had an idea. I was all excited. Her first thing coming out of her mouth was, well, here's why it's not going to work because of this, this, and that. And I thought, can we not get excited about something before we go shoot it down? We've met down the middle now. And so we've learned to ask for what we need in idea sharing. So I would say, Margarita, I have a great idea. And all I want right now is excitement around that idea. We can poke holes later. And so now we're able to ask of each other what it is that how do you want me to listen to you right now, Isabelle? And what do you need? I just need excitement. Okay.
That's brilliant.
Right. And I want to add something to the equation. As you said, I was fortunate to have that passed down from my parents. And believe me, there was plenty of things that I'm not that happy to have passed down from my parents. And my parents were great. I'm so fortunate. I'm so happy. And I am who I am today in great part because of what I've inherited from them in terms of thinking. Not only the importance of being clear about the what. My mom really early on, my dad was in advertising, radio talk show host, TV, radio. My mom was a hairdresser. I say was, my father's passed away. My mom is still alive and well, but she's retired, right? So we had a hairdresser salon at home. And I learned really quickly early on as well that delivering an outstanding experience is key, being of service. My mom would always say, who are you going to surprise and delight today, Isabelle? Because today is a beautiful day to change lives. And she wasn't a surgeon. She wasn't she's a hairdresser, for crying out loud. And I remember on the topic of being clear of the what and then the who almost completely before the how. Equally important, she taught me to pitch my ideas in a way that would get an irresistible yes. Let me explain. This is what I do for a living. I position brands and companies, ideas, thought leaders, and in a way that people are going to be like, where the hell have you been all my life? So, but that started really early and I was not happy at the time. It started around 5, 6, 7, and it continued on. I would say, Mom, here's what I want. I want this toy. And she would say, why? Tell me why. And then she'd have me discuss why I want something, what it's going to do to me, like how will it enhance my day or my life, or what would happen if the answer was no, and what would happen if the answer was yes. So when I was young, that was the conversation. Like 7, 8, 9, it became, Isabelle, we want you to pitch your idea to the family, my brother, my dad, and my mom. And she taught me to talk about the pros, the cons. So if I wanted to do dance instead of swimming, I couldn't just say, I don't want to swim anymore, Mom. I just want to do dance now. And here's, this is what I want. I had to actually pitch with a little board. I remember my little pitch board with my colored pens. And I'd have to say, here are the pros of my idea. Here are the cons of my idea. Here is the trade-off, because there's always a trade-off with any decision. Good decision, bad decision, great opportunity, bad opportunity. There's a trade-off. I had to start talking about what the trade-offs are. And then it evolved to be, what are the risks for them to say yes? And what are the costs for them to say no? Because even though it's a great opportunity, there's always a risk for people to say yes. And there's always a cost for people to say no. And I knew I had done a good job when if my parents said, we'll see, or let us think about it, I was like, oh, shoot, I missed the boat. But if they looked at each other and went, we'd kind of be stupid to say no to that, I knew I had covered all my angles to a point where this is a true story that I want to dance instead of swim. And the dance was actually much more expensive than the swimming classes. So I even came to them saying, I want to pay the difference. So for you, there will be no difference in terms of cost. And so I will babysit more. I'll work at the salon. I worked at the salon super early with my mom and I made tips. And, I had quite a bit of money. We're not talking thousands of dollars, right? But hundreds of dollars at 8 and 9 and 10, just from making people's day at the salon. So I was like, you know what? I will pay the difference. And what do you want a parent to say? They can't say, this makes sense. This makes sense. You're going to pay the difference. There's no lose for us. No, that's not going to happen,
Absolutely. That is it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
I didn't think it was, because my friend Genevieve, all she had to do was ask, right? And I had to put not PowerPoint at the time, but put a Prezi together and get my thoughts together. And to a point where one day my friends were playing outside and I was pitching the next day. So I said, I'm sorry. Do you remember playing elastics? You jump on the elastics. That was I just loved it. I could do from the neck up. I could still do it. And anyway, so I said, sorry, I have to work tonight. I have a pitch tomorrow. I was probably 9. Oh,
But, it set you up so
It did.
fantastically.
Yeah.
Right? To be able to consciously understand and be aware of what you wanted, desired, and then to go after it.
Yeah.
Is huge.
And to a point, Carmel, where when I went from Cégep to university in Quebec, it's a bit set up differently studies wise, but just before university, there's a college anyways. I was applying for university, and when I applied, I had a dance accident. I broke a leg, and then my dance career at the time was shot before it even really started. So I had to rethink what I was going to go do, where I was going to go study. And so by the time I applied to Concordia in scenography, which is set design, special effects for theater and movies, the program was filled. It was already organized. It wasn't started yet, but it was filled. They had all their students. So when I applied, they said, you're a strong candidate. Please reapply next year because our program is filled. Now, this is Montreal. At the time, I live in Quebec City. I'm 2.5 hours, if you floor it, without traffic in between the two. So, and I said to them, you can't say no right now. Let me position myself in a way that I didn't say that to them, but I did it. I positioned myself on the phone so that they would want to interview me even if right now, because I didn't want to interview in a year. I wanted to interview now because I had a plan of changing the minds. So they said, can you be here in half an hour? I said, no, but I can be here in 3 hours. I'll be there in 3 hours. I'm in Quebec City. I will drive. I will come and meet you. I brought my portfolio, of course, I had 3 hours to prep my pitch. And so went there. They had me, the dean of the department did my interview. He had me, he showed me the school around. And I even said to them, I don't even need a desk. I can actually sit the floor. I don't mind, At the very end, when they gave me back my portfolio, the person downstairs, the I don't know, the secretary or something, she actually said, welcome to the program. And I went, yeah, I know I'm going to be here for sure. But no, they're like, no, welcome to the program. You're accepted. Can you be here in a week? And I thought, I have shivers just retelling it. Yeah. I thought, thank you, parents, for having me done all the bloody hard work when I was a kid and when I was like wanting to do a tantrum for not having to do all this. And I thought, wow, how my life has evolved and the opportunities and what I was able to land and grow 2 businesses to 7 figures and thousands of others for my clients by understanding the sheer power of positioning.
Amazing. It's absolutely. So let's talk about, because you and I both know that people can get in their own way.
Yeah.
Right. And look at, that early experience that you have continued to cultivate and to shift and to grow with and have it so internalized with you that, also in my experience with you, you are very deliberate and conscious about what you say and how you speak.
Yeah.
You don't waste words.
Yeah.
And how you bring that to the table with clients that you work with to help them grow and to discover and cultivate their own mindset and to do things in a way that is creating their lives more consciously.
Yeah. I will start by saying that if I was to describe my business, the essence of my business in 2 words, and then you'll know why I'm saying this, it would be outcome, overcome. And my business is pretty complicated. There's divisions, but my gift is to boil it, bouillon cube it, right? Is to just go to the core and simplify it to a point where it's so clear that people either want it or relate or so outcome. What is it that we're working towards? And then overcome. What is it that I need to overcome? Or what is this new goal, new innovation, new pathway? What is this newness here asking me to become? And from that perspective, we can go, okay, so these are the 5 things that I think that are going to trip me. Because let me tell you, yes, I've been raised with parents that have semi-great, outstanding mindset in certain things and then, shit show in other things. But let me tell you, this is something that gets cultivated. I work at this every day. For example, I replace the word but in my conversations. You'll very rarely hear me say but. Because if I said, Carmel, I love you, but you'd be like, what? Right? So in my world, it's and. Yes, this was not that great, and there's this. Or yes, this was really well done, and there's this. So verbiage, the words that we use, I think it's Maya Angelou who said, words seep in. They seep into your skin, your carpet, your furniture. And what you repeatedly say, it means you repeatedly think. And what you repeatedly think, you create. So right now I'm in a place in my business where I have a lot of letting go to do. I've got some tethers in certain areas. And in order for me to get to the next level, I need to relinquish. I don't know, I'm hoping I'm using that word properly. I'm still learning English. I need to let go of control, a certain amount of control. I need to let go of some meticulousness, and not lower my standards. I have quite high standards, but and see, I just did it. But I hear myself when I say it, right? So and it will require me to elevate my thinking, to think about what I want it to be possible versus the facts that are proving me wrong from the past. And we get tripped by that all the time. Well, for the past 10 years, it's been difficult and it's been this way. And every time I've done this is the result that's happened. Yes, I get that. I get that those are the facts. And if you're always tethered to those facts, guess what's going to happen? You're going to carry them forward. So I have had a challenge finding a certain person for a position. And it's either never really worked well or it's been challenging. And right now I'm like, no, let's not get tethered on that. What is it that I want to occur? And what can I do? What can I let go? And who can I become with? And I'm not asking people to become something they're not, right? Like it's about becoming more of ourselves and chiseling, right? The crap, sculpting the crap away. And there's things that you need to become, things you need to let go of in order to create a new future. And that's all part of where the conversation is, right?
Absolutely. Because I think that, when we talk about tethered, I use the word attachment because we become attached.
Yeah.
We become attached to the past. We become attached to beliefs, which are not knowing. Beliefs are bullshit.
Yeah.
And the old way of doing. And in many ways, that paradigm is very much the subconscious. And it's how the subconscious is a sponge. It doesn't differentiate between what is real or imagined unless we reject or allow it. And this starts in the womb.
Yeah.
And so the habits, patterns, and tendencies of the past that we bring forward that really often result in, I can't do that. These are all the reasons why I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because of that past memory.
Totally. And even as you said, the subconscious doesn't make a difference between, like if I say, so-and-so, that is so stupid. I'm not saying I'm stupid, except the subconscious doesn't actually know the I am, you are, this is. That before the word stupid is irrelevant to the subconscious, to the energy of the universe. What the universe and the subconscious hear is stupid.
Yes.
Right? I fear, I don't want cancer. I don't want cancer. I don't want cancer. I don't want is irrelevant. Cancer is what's happening here, right? Yeah. So it's literally, and when you say detached, right, being unattached, the line that I'm finding challenging for me, and I'm always managing myself within this line, is being passionately unattached. Mm-hmm. Wanting something and not being attached as to how and why and when, being really passionate about something and not attached to the outcome, not attached to what people think, not attached to, just be passionate about this. It's a fine line between attachment and passion. And I slip and slide that line often.
Well, it's a dance.
It is.
It's a dance because we're dancing between the conscious mind and the subconscious, which has just, this is a heap of memory, really. This whole thing is a heap of memory. And there's a big difference between mental activity and focused attention.
Right.
Because the mental activity is always running because it's old software and it's just running off of past memory. Yeah. And as soon as you engage with that or judge it, then you're into a story and you're effed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Just screwed.
And to the mindset conversation, to add to that, every year, Margarita and I have a word. We have an intention for the year of the form of a word, not a sentence, not something we need to remember, just one word. A couple of years ago, my word was buoyancy. I'm an intense individual and I wanted more lightness, more buoyancy. And that year it was all about adding buoyancy. Obviously the universe didn't say, here's buoyancy for you, Isabelle. The universe went, you want buoyancy? I'm going to give you opportunities to practice buoyancy. Yeah. And so I even had my phone, my text ring was like, boing, boing, just to remind me of adding play. Life is not that serious. It's an experiment and we take it so seriously that we make it so much harder for ourselves. It's an experiment. It's a test on a napkin. Let's just relax. For me, it was, I had to say, relax, lighten up. This year, my word is simplifying, being like, I really want to simplify everything even more, even though I am known as the person who simplifies things. And it's important for me to bring more simplification in my life. The overarching theme for this year between Margarita and I is to be happily surprised. And so far, let me tell you, every day I have my mantra. I have a liver, kidney, different types of one-liner affirmations that I say every day. And now, since the beginning of the year, of course, it's focused on simplicity, but I end with my purpose. I restate my life's purpose. Every day I say it before 8:00 in the morning. And then I end with, I am open and willing to be happily surprised today. And how much better can that be,
No, it can't. And I think that, one of the keys is that we've taken everything so seriously, and including ourselves. If you start taking this too seriously, you're going to get stuck. You're going to be mired. We're going to forget how to play, and
you're going to create disease.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. As you know of my connection to Sadhguru, and I've introduced him to you. One of the things that he will talk about is to do everything joyfully and playfully.
Yeah.
And you can cultivate that from within. We just have to do it consciously.
Yes.
It has to become a part of that mindset to remember how to play.
Yeah.
We have to woo the universe. We have to woo the divine. It's like any other relationship. So if you're going to show miserable and stuck and serious, I mean, is anybody going to want to be in a relationship with you? So to approach that, it has to be something that you do every day, right? Because when we speak and when we think and we're listening, the subconscious is listening. Right? Yeah. It's like you said, I don't want, but all the universe sees or feels or is that vibration of where you're focused your attention on. It doesn't matter about the I don't want. It's just that one focus and that passionate thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so often I will say, here's what I don't want. And then I will say it because I want to be clear about what it is that I don't want. But right after that, I go, so what does that mean? Let's translate that to what it is that I do want, right? And I remember just a moment ago, I said, let's not bring upon disease onto our bodies, right? I remember my mom, I'm a very sensitive human being. It doesn't always show because I am a badass and I have a lot of confidence and I am extremely sensitive. And when I was a kid, I cried a lot. I still do. I cried a lot and I didn't like that. I didn't like that I couldn't just say something without crying. I didn't like that. And I remember my mom saying, so what I would do is I would go, clack my door, go to my bedroom, do my crying, and then come back confident and go, here's what I don't like, or here's what I want. And my mom taught me it's okay to cry. She said, what is important is that you don't leave that. Say what you need to say, because if you don't, it's going to create stuck energy. Mm-hmm. And what does stuck energy eventually become? Disease. Yeah. And so I was raised with the belief that everything has to be said, to my detriment, actually, to a point, a point I had to find a middle of what is important to be said and what is important to just work through myself and let go, right? Margarita taught me a lot about how to say certain things. So not in a positioning kind of way, but in a human kind of way, was that necessary for you to share, Isabelle, in that way? It wasn't tremendously helpful to this person because they were on the defensive. They weren't able to actually absorb the goodness of what you had to say. And if you might feel better because you've let it out, now it's time for you to evolve and figure out what's the best way to share something like this in a way that it's going to be positive all around. You can't make it positive for you and not for others. And so that was the next step of my evolution at that time. And still today, I still work at that, of course.
It's tricky, right? And as you know, I mean, I work with people on different levels and online mentoring and guidance and with plant medicine.
Yeah.
And it's tricky. You have to know who you're working with, who you're dealing with, what they're bringing to the table. Yeah. And I used to incredibly dislike. I used to have a colleague of mine that would say, "You have to meet people where they're at," and I'm like, I don't know, but I do now. I understand that on a much deeper level.
Yes,
that you can meet them where they're at and then bring them along.
Correct. Yeah, you can't actually bringing them along. The best way is to meet them where they're at. The example that I use is when we are in our mastery, we work and operate from the top of Everest. The people that we're working with are somewhere around base camp, first quarter, possibly in flip-flops. So we can't just say, come on in, come on, go. You got to actually go down the mountain and give them the gear and the tools so that they can actually successfully make the climb,
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things is that, is it necessary and is it appropriate for the situation?
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes, I recently, up until yesterday, I had a guest here for 2 months working with medicine and nice. a deep dive into some of the other work that I was working with. And there was a moment in a day a few weeks ago where I had to be very, very blunt. And I think it was about maybe 10 words total, but I got my point across. Yeah. And for a moment, it crushed her.
Yeah.
It crushed her. And I left her to her own devices. And then I took my dog out for a walk, and I had a little bit, I was like, was that the right thing to do?
Right.
I was doubting myself a little bit, and I sort of went through my process, and I was like, was it necessary? Yeah.
Right.
Was it appropriate for the situation? Yeah.
Yeah.
And because she'd been here for so long, we had developed that relationship. Now, would have I done the same thing with someone that I was having a session with online? Probably not.
Right.
Right. And so I had to do my own navigation and process, right, And I came back hours later, and she just came up to me and she said, "Thank you."
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you need to be bold and brave and audacious in order to say what needs to be said for that to be a catalyst for something better, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one of my mentors a few years back, Justin Livingston. I was at one of his events, and although what I'm about to say isn't as deep as what you've just shared, it marked me. I was at that event and he was talking about, there was a question in the audience about Facebook ads. And I have a lot of knowledge in that. And he has even more knowledge than me in that. And the question was huge. And I thought, how is he going to answer that in a way that is not overwhelming the person, but that's helpful? And I was amazed at his restraint. I thought, wow, I would have probably been a fire hose at that time. I've learned since then, right? But I probably would have been like, la 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 la, and then probably lost the whole audience, including this person. He thought for a minute. He gave an ounce of a 1,000,000-gallon well of information. And he knew that ounce was not going to give her the results she wants, but he knew that it was going to get her moving forward. And that event, the information that was shared wasn't catalytic for me because I had a lot of that. I learned the most from his facilitation styles and how the restraint, when he would press on the gas and when he would press on the brakes. And I thought, priceless what I've learned there. Mm-hmm. And too many people don't really count those things as really valuable when you go to an event. You know, sometimes people go, yeah, I knew all the content. It's like, yeah, and did you go there with the opportunity, with the student mindset to learn in different ways, different things? Maybe it's not the content you were meant to learn there. Maybe it's a facilitation style. Maybe it's one sentence, like the sentence you said to this person. Maybe that was the gutsy move that you needed to see that day, right? Mm-hmm. So congratulations, by the way, for having the guts to say what needs to be said to catapult someone forward. It takes.
Yeah, it was. I learned a lot about myself also in that moment, mm-hmm. because it wasn't just a reaction.
Right.
It wasn't a subconscious reaction because there was things going on, you know, for several minutes prior to that. And I was thinking about and considering, what do I need to do here?
Yes. Yeah.
That is, you know, we've already planted the seeds. How do I water this? Yes. And then it became more of, okay, well, the seeds have already been planted because she'd been here for quite some time and we're starting to grow, but there was weeds growing around what we had planted. And it was like, I need to pluck these weeds out.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what you did? You not only were audacious about it, you committed to that. And I'll share with you, I, as a human being, I experienced dyslexia. So I've lived with dyslexia my entire life. I have I've mastered how to manage that and to actually propel this disability into a very unique strength of mine. I do believe that it's behind my strength for simplifying everything. One thing I'm going to say is, in school, we had, I was 15 or 16 years old. We had a paper to write. We were given in an assignment. We had to write a 30-page paper on Audacity. And I thought, ew, what the hell? I don't want to write 30 pages about Audacity. That sucks. So I thought, what can I do here? And so I thought, here's what I'm going to do. Now, this was a big exam. I didn't know how big it was, how important it was at the time that I made that decision. So keep that in mind. So I thought, okay, we had 2 or 3 weeks to do it. Within 2 days, I was done. And I told my friends, I'm done. None of them believe me because they know my situation. So I thought, no, I'm done. It's brilliant. And what I had done was I gathered 30-page of paper, blank. I had a cover that said Audacity is ... I numbered all the blank pages. And on my last page, ... this. Audacity is this. And so I thought I didn't have to write a word. I am demonstrating Audacity. Great, I'm done. 2 days, I think it's a day or two before it was due. And by the way, I was proud initially, and I'm an A student. I'm a hardworking student. I agonized for 3 weeks about my choice. The teacher knew this once I've handed it in. The teacher knew this because of what I'm about to say. Anyways, a day before, he reminds us that it's due tomorrow and then says, and remember, the grade is worth your entire semester. Now I was like, holy, what the hell have I done? I got back home and now I hadn't told my mom, right? I was just doing my homework. Now I'm like, Mom, I think I fucked up. I think I screwed up, Mom. Here, and she's like, let's sit down. Let's talk about it. What happened? I told her that. And she said, well, what you need to do next, Isabelle, is commit. Commit to your choice. Own it. If you own it, then you can be proud no matter what happens. If you don't own it, though, watch out. You're going to have regrets and all of this and, kerfuffle and energy. So I owned it. I handed it off and it came back on my desk a few days later. It came back the last, you know how the teachers go, and John and Josie and da. Now, and last Isabelle. Here's what Isabelle did. I had to pitch my idea. There was A+, F-, there was and all the gamut on there. And I thought he had me looking for what is the final answer here, And I got an A+. And, it wasn't, he explained that it wasn't by laziness that I did that. It was by the growth I went through by just the shenanigans of what ran around that was priceless for me. And he knew that because he knew me, right? And my mom said, commit. She said, if you were on a 30 feet diving board and you were midway, you launched yourself face down, uncommitting at that moment could be deadly. You could hurt yourself. So commit. And you know what? Life's not that serious. So whatever happens, we'll be fine. Priceless, right? Isn't that not priceless?
No, I love that. That is freaking ballsy. And I know you, so but it's and I think that the key here is to commit and to own it. I refer to this as being at one with your decisions.
Correct.
Right. And being at one, because at the end of the day, a lot of the times what we do is that we suffer our freedom and our freedom to choose and to commit to that and to just, not bring in all of the external crap, all of the subconscious, oh my God, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that. It's not going to get anywhere. The backlash from that will actually be an obstacle and a challenge that will prevent you from creating what you want. Yeah. And having that mindset. I love what
you just said. You'll suffer the freedom. It's very, I look at I have a tremendous amount of freedom. And there are days where I feel like I don't. It's a feeling. It's I know that I could take a flight, go somewhere if I wanted to. I can stop what I'm doing tomorrow if I'm tired of it. There'll be consequences. I'm not set to stop working. I need to generate revenue. I still want to be of service. So it would bring difficulties and challenges. And there's things that I probably physically cannot do as a result of my circumstances. And there's an enormous amount of freedom. And at the end of 2022, I felt imprisoned by many things in my life. And I thought that I have this is me. This is nothing around me. It's my mindset. It's my perception of things. So I've been renovating my perceptions and my thinking. And we should renovate our thinking and our perception daily. This is not an event that I'm now doing and then I'll be set. It's an everyday. The universe presents you with a new challenge, a new difficulty. It's every day, you know.
It is absolutely every day. And it's moment to moment. The only thing that there is right now is now. Is this moment. Everything else is memory, which is past, or an imagined future. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't plan and strategize for that. But if we can be in this moment right now, fully, completely engaged with what that is in this moment, you'll never fall out of it. And the universe will just funnel in ideas, creation, and help us get out of our own way, to trust.
And in addition to that, fulfillment. I'm one to often be rethinking what I could have said, should have said, from the past. And I'm also way more in the future than I am present. Like right now, I am fully engaged, fully present, fully fulfilled. It's fulfilling to be present. When I feel unfulfilled, I go, I'm either always thinking about the imagined future, or I'm in the past reminiscing on things that, what's it going to do, other than, of course, learning from that. It's important to learn from the past. And being in the present is the only way that I can feel truly fulfilled. And when I do coaching sessions, there are days that I do 8 coaching sessions, 10 coaching sessions, and I feel completely fulfilled and in the flow. And there's other days where I feel like this was a burden. It was challenging. And in those moments, I felt like I was here, but I should have been over here. These things had to get done. When I'm not present is when, if you see a line, if you have a foot over here on the line and a foot over here on the line, it's very difficult to feel fulfilled and nurtured and fueled,
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of that scattered feeling or feeling of fragmented is when you're paying more attention to the mental activity than with the focused thought that you're trying to be with just in this moment. And it's tricky. It's tough, right? I mean, and it's a daily process. The work, that we both do is in many ways very, very different, but there's very many parallels to them. As well. And it's just like, be here now, because there's really nothing else. And really, it's insanity, what we call life in external physical 3D reality.
Yes.
And we're never going to be able to grasp it fully. We can get closer and closer to it if we can be in the moment and consciously create what we want, moment to moment to moment to moment.
Yeah. And in a practical sense, I'll give you an example of how I practice that. At the end of the day, at the start of the day, I meditate, I do what I need to do, my ritual. Then I get into work mode. I look at emails. I do what needs to happen. At the end of my day, towards the end of my day, I will look at emails again, figure out certain things that need to be planned for tomorrow and all of that. Beyond a certain point, like when my day is over, workday, I do not want to look at emails. It's tempting sometimes. I do not, because there's nothing, if there's a bad news that arrive or something that I don't want or I don't like or I'm disappointed in, it's going to ruin my evening. There's nothing I'll be able to do about it. I'd rather be prepared tomorrow, rested and ready to tackle my day to read that email.
Absolutely.
And so there's countless little examples like this in my day-to-day that even I don't look at emails at always in the time of the day. I have specific times of my day that I look at emails because I know that if something occurs in there, then I will have the bandwidth and the time to actually deal with it. So it's important for me to preserve. Now, that doesn't mean I couldn't, there's positive things around looking at the email and learning to detach and not let it affect me. There's learning in that. And there's a preference of not even having that in my sphere, right? So.
Well, you're getting to choose.
Correct.
You get to choose. My phone is on silent all the time, unless I am expecting a call. I look at my emails when I look at them, never before 9 o'clock in the morning. I have my sadhana, my process that I do for 3 hours every morning between 5 and 8. Then I'll take Aya out for her walk and come back, and then I'll open things up and check. Now, my life, my business is not as dynamic as yours is, with as many moving parts. But no, I won't look at emails either past a certain hour in the late afternoon, evening, because there's no point. This is my time. Right. This is, that was that. Now this is this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that helps preserve. You see, we have to know and understand what makes us and keeps us at our best. And we need to constantly do that. We worked with a client recently. We worked with a group of people in a mastermind setting. And he knows that a walk in the morning with his dog and a walk at night with his dog keeps him sane. It gets him to relax, and his life is better. And when it gets busy, what's the first thing that goes out the window? The very ritual that actually gets you to be healthy and happy and all that. So what happened is he went to the dentist, and now he was like, he had a guard in his mouth for stopping the grind at night. And he's spending this and spending that and band-aiding this and band-aiding that. And all I said was, did you have any of that when you walked in the morning and you walked at night? No. How about you just do that instead of band-aiding and spending money on all? See, it's amazing how we are. The very thing that helps us when it gets busy or it gets tough. People go, it's too tough right now. I can't meditate. Like, that's exactly when you need to do it. It's easy to meditate in an ashram in India, for crying out loud. Can you do it amongst the craziness of your day-to-day hustle and bustle?
Yeah. It's, for me, it's everything out there, everything that we call life, for me, isn't life. It's ambiance, it's decoration, it's earning a living. But for me, my time that I spend in nature and, walking with Ira and connecting to a greater universe and to the cosmos and to everything is divine for me. Yeah. Everything is sacred. A tree, listening to the birds. I can hear the birds at 5 o'clock in the morning starting to wake up as the sun is rising. I mean, I live in Peru. How hard can it be? But it's absolutely stunning and beautiful to connect to something that for me is much more real than the day to day that we have to do. We have to play the game, right? Let's just decide to play the game willingly, joyfully, lovingly, and consciously.
And our way, right? Your way of playing the game would be different than my way of playing the game, would be different than Margarita playing the game. The thing is, we need to understand and be clear about what is the game that we are wanting to play, willing to play, and orchestrate the pieces accordingly,
Absolutely. And for me, there's a big part of that trust. It's okay, this is what I want, and I'm going to focus on that passionately. I'm going to cultivate my thoughts and emotions of gratitude, of love, and, visualize it's already done. And then stay the hell out of my own way in many ways and let that unfold and come and to receive, which is difficult for a lot of people.
Yes.
And it's, and sometimes it's still difficult for me. I mean, I sure as hell haven't mastered every aspect of the underlying life essence about, going within and doing that trusting work to also just accept and let things unfold without judgment or expectation.
Yeah. It reminds me quickly of the Our Place Trailblazers here on Vancouver Island. It was for sale for 7 years before it came to our consciousness. And I am 100% clear that this house was meant for us. this property was meant for us. We just weren't ready for it at the time. And so sometimes we just need to accept that we're on a need to know basis relationship with the universe. And trusting that is definitely a trip.
Yeah, it's definitely a trip, you know.
Yeah.
The resistance is what's going to cause problems.
Yeah.
In many ways. So
Yeah.
how we get around obstacles and challenges is also key, because they're always going to be there. For me, it's largely about cultivating an inner space of again, peace and joy and connection. And
you just said something that sparked something in me. You said resistance, right? In my coaching, we coach entrepreneurs, but right now I'm talking about my coach. I have this need as a human being to have him really understand what is. And so that we can discuss how to change that, if it needs to be changed, how to change that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes he'll say to me, why? Because he'll say something and I'll go, it feels like you didn't understand the gravity of what is, or it feels like you're discounting, you're making it kind of like feel too easy on that side. Like, it's just weird. Sometimes I have this, and he always says, why do you want to convince me that it's been hard? I get it. Let's now talk about something, like talk about how to resolve that, how to detach from that. Why do you want to convince me that it's because for me, I want to feel seen and understood for what it is, so I can detach, so I can move on. Yet for him, it's almost like you're trying to convince me that it's been hard, therefore it will continue to be. And I'm working at not proving my point. I don't need to prove a point to move forward. And that's a challenge for me.
I think it's tricky for a lot of people, because it's, you know, we live in this sort of culture right now, which is about, I need to be heard, seen, understood. And I don't look at things that way. Happiness is not something that can be given, and it's not something that can be taken away.
Right.
And that applies to a lot of those other things. And so we've been taught from a very young age to seek approval. If we don't get the approval, then we're not worthy. And this spirals into a whole other ball of wax that gets us even further tangled up. And that too is a daily process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But becoming aware of it.
Yeah.
Right. If you're not aware of it, you can't shift it.
There's nothing that can be done, for sure.
Zero. Yeah. Right.
And sometimes I'll say things to him and he'll go, don't whine. But it's not whine. And I'm not like, I know the definition of whining, and it's not that I was whining, but to him, it's like, let's just stop whining about that. And let's do something about that, you know?
Right.
And it's good for me to hear those things. Mm-hmm. It's good because when you're in the pickle jar, you can't see the calorie label, right? Like that's how it goes.
That's amazing. I love that. I might use that one.
Please do.
That's fantastic. Oh my God. We're out of time, Isabelle. I am so super grateful for you being here, sharing your genius, your wisdom, and what you bring to the world is absolutely amazing. And we'll be sure to include the links to your website and how people can find you when we publish the podcast.
I'll send you as well the links to my 2 TED Talks.
Please.
This might be valuable for your community. And honestly, Carmel, what a soulful, energetic, amazing conversation. It was a total pleasure.
It was a blast. An hour went by pretty bloody quick, didn't it? Honestly, it's amazing. Again, everyone, thank you for listening and tuning in to Isabelle Mercier Turcotte share her genius and her wisdom. Very, very grateful. Thanks, love.
Thank you.